welcome to another episode of the Outcast. And once again, we're back to cover RWBY. That's right, RWBY Volume 3 is what we're covering this week. And I am joined by...
HC.
And we'll have a late rush, we'll say. He actually is planning on showing up, but he's planning on showing up a little bit late. Because...
A late rush sounds like you overslept and woke up too late, but you still have some sort of an adrenaline after this. I don't know. Random thoughts.
Random thoughts. But he will be late because we're definitely unprofessional to the point of we'll just have people come on to the cast later in the cast because why not?
Because we appreciate the fact that they have lives of their own and yeah.
Professionalism, HC, professionalism. We don't strive for it at all. We pretend to, but we don't have it at all.
Well, we're recording this using freaking Discord. Like, come on, what
Discord
were your
is a professional program, HC. I will not have you shaming us or it and its good name.
Okay, I've done talking. Let's let some of the comments probably tell us about this. But anyway,
getting right along into it then. This is a look at RWBY Volume 3, Episode 1, Round 1.
And wait, aren't we going to talk about the season in general and what we thought?
Yes. Professionalism. Not even following our own show's guidelines that we've set up before in the past.
And if I may say, this is why I'm handling the main Berkcast episodes and Wolf is just doing this because I can actually keep stuff organized.
I can't. Ever.
Hashtag humble brag. But anyway...
This is why we brought you along. And keep you around.
I created the damn thing, dude. Anyway...
non-spoiler thoughts.
Non-spoiler thoughts. I'll just say because I'm the newbie here. This is my first time watching this season and the show in general. To those who are just getting caught up, so personally, I'm not sure how popular this opinion is going to be. Like, I'm not sure about anything regarding my opinions on this show. But I personally enjoyed this season the most, and I think the main reason for this is because I think this is the most action-oriented season. Like, there was really... And not that I didn't enjoy the previous two seasons. If you go back, I enjoyed them just as much. But something about this didn't feel as... I don't want to say dragged, because... something about the pacing for this season just caught me more. And I was more... I just enjoyed this season's pacing a lot more and the action a lot more, and I felt like at this point I got to know the characters as well, so it was just fun seeing them go through everything they go through, minus the bad parts. And yeah.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear what you think of the next two volumes when it comes to you saying you liked the pacing of this particular volume.
Okay.
Because, it's not a spoiler to say they definitely slow down a little bit. But I think that is, especially for Volume 4, I think it's understandable considering what you get happening in Volume 3, right? I think it's a little understandable to slow down a tad bit after all of that. We kind of need it as an audience. But,
like, I saw this in a video I made not long ago on my YouTube channel. Go watch it. HCSP1 on YouTube. Hashtag
self-plug.
Self-plug here. But anyway, wanted to say about this. So I said that it's kind of like having Ant-Man and the Wasp after Infinity War. You kind of need... Sometimes you need this change of pace.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's Volume 4, so let's finish Volume 3 first.
Yeah. And I personally, I'm with you, I enjoyed Volume 3. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it. I don't think it's inherently bad by any means. I think there's a lot of good stuff here. And it most certainly it marks a tonal shift for the show as well. Like from this point onward, things are much different for RWBY. It also marks the end of an era for RWBY too, because this is the last volume that you'll see looking like this. After volume 3, they switch over to a new animation software. Up until this point, they've been using Poser. Afterwards, they switch over to Maya. So you'll see a much different look for the show going forward too. It's still fairly similar, but there is some very big differences in terms of how things look in quality.
Not to really to go off topic much, but isn't Maya what Pixar uses? Or am I confusing it?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think it might, but I do know Maya's like a very expensive piece of software.
Okay.
I can look it up real quick.
Okay, but I think while you do that, I pretty much summed up our non-spoilerish thoughts about this season. So from this point on, spoilers if you haven't seen Volume 3 of RWBY, although if you're watching this, I'm assuming you did. Don't go on any longer. Go watch the season. Come back here after you're done.
So apparently, for DreamWorks and Pixar and Disney as well, Disney's more pipeline based, but Pixar and DreamWorks use custom software with a bit of commercial software mixed in. So all three companies use Maya a little bit, is what I can tell real quick.
Okay. Fair enough.
So yeah, definitely, you'll see a different look to the show most assuredly after this volume.
Noted. Okay, so let's start with episode 1, round 1. Personally, this I think this was the point where I kind of realized we might as well talk about this. I don't remember if we mentioned that on or off mic last time, but apparently during the production of this season, the creator of the show passed away. And like Wolf told me that I'm about to maybe see some changes in this volume, and I think this was the first change that we didn't really go beyond the academy. Like we didn't really go. We didn't really leave the school or say anything beyond that. We just kind of stuck to the school pretty much and had this tournament, which I thought was interesting. But overall, I'll say this was a really fun first episode, and I really enjoyed it. Like the action, the fight between Team RWBY and Team Abren. Is that how you pronounce it?
I think it's Team Bronze. It might be Team Auburn. I would have to look it up
because I have the episode list here. It says ABRN. So I'll.
Continue on. Don't stop on my account and go silent.
Okay, so I just enjoyed the fight scene, and
I was wrong. It is Team Auburn.
Well, you're the expert here, so what am I?
I'm not a great expert. Don't rely on me for anything ever. I messed up the beginning of our own show, HC.
Legit, but I just enjoyed the fight scene. I enjoyed the idea of a tournament that hosts different schools. That it is a bit of world building that we pretty much heard that there are other schools that teach these kids how to be huntsmen and stuff, but this really, like, we actually saw these schools and we saw them comparing abilities, and everyone seems confident in what they're doing. So I just enjoyed this introduction episode, and it was also funny when they were trying to go to eat and Blake get the bowl of fish. I thought that was funny.
Just more nods to her being a cat, obviously, but definitely fun. And you get to have a small moment of Weiss having issues with her father still, and You also get to see, just from that fight alone, you get to see some of the show's creativity at work in the terms of what they can come up with ideas for weapon wise, and some of the character designs as well. Like her name is Reese, if I'm not mistaken, and her hoverboard. That's really a unique weapon design that's very interesting and very unique and very fun to see, right? And even the character designs for that team as well are all very fun and very varied, and it's fun to see
Yes.
them. And this continues on with this volume. You see quite a few different characters that are very unique and very fun to see design wise. Um, since you brought it up, I guess I will talk about this a little bit. The beginning of this episode is very much an homage to Monty. See, you wouldn't know this, and I didn't know this either when I first saw it. I had to have this pointed out to me and shown to me because I didn't know this. Do you remember the birds flying into like the sun and seeing that little scene of the birds flying in a very specific formation from episode 1? Right after,
No, but...
it's when Ruby's talking over the grave of her mother.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, Monty's signature whenever he signs anything is a flock of birds flying with a sunset in front of them or what have you, in a very specific formation. That was quite literally his signature, and they used it within the animation itself. And it's a nice little homage to him to pay respects to him and his passing.
Yeah, that is quite impressive. Good on them for that.
Now, I don't know. I'll say this, right? Because I think it should be said. Monty's passing definitely will change the show because he was the creator of it all, and him not being there anymore will affect things, right? I don't think it's unfair to say that, because there are going to be things that the people working on the show now might view or see differently without him around, right? Personally, though,
yeah, I think it's like that. Not just with this specific show. Like every time a creator leaves the show, leaves a creation for reasons that may be, you're going to see some changes when a different person is in charge.
Absolutely. But I don't think you should. And here's where my issue comes up, right? And I think, and I guess it's worth talking about a little bit. You'll see a lot of people hate on this volume, Volume 4, and Volume 5, and I think any subsequent volumes as well, just because Monty's no longer around. And I've seen the complaint, and that is their sole criticism. Monty's no longer around, so RWBY's no longer good. And
it happens sometimes. Although,
stop being foolish and silly.
Actually, though, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't he start working on it? Like, doesn't he have something to do with it before he passed, or am I?
I don't know fully, but I do think when it comes to Volume 3, he definitely had a hand in it, right? And there's also a lot of other reasons why people complain about the show in its current form, and you'll see a lot of complaints that they're ruining Monty's vision. And there's a ton of reasons why, and I'm not going to go into them, and I don't think we should either, because a lot of it boils down to he said, she said, because of other issues that cropped up from Rooster Teeth at that time. And I'm not going to get into that because, simply put, it's just drama. And I see no reason in covering drama, to be honest. He passed, the show decided to go on, and I think that in and of itself is respectful to Monty, because it's continuing to make something that he genuinely wanted to make and enjoyed making.
And also, for all we know, like unless someone involved with the protection comes right out of nowhere and says no on this, for all we know, the basic outline for season 3, 4, 5, everything going forward, like he probably had those ideas when he came up with the show. For all we know,
they've come out and already said like they have a lot of notes that he left behind and everything like that. The main Miles and Carrie, they're the main creative force behind RWBY as of now, and they've come out and already said they have a ton of notes and other stuff that he left behind for characters and story and many other things for all of RWBY, for them to be able to finish it and then some.
Okay.
So as I said, there's
There you
other
go.
drama and stuff that's come out as well from other people who've worked on the show, but I'm not going to get into it. It's really not worth it.
I think we kind of sidetracked. We're not talking about the stuff happening behind the show. We are talking about that show.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
The reason I bring it up is just to talk a little bit about the criticism that the show is bad because Monty passed. And that's just silly, in my opinion. But
yeah,
moving right along. But I do think
I can see what you mean.
But I do think, right, like it's a nice little homage they pay to him and his passing with the beginning of the show.
Okay.
But other
so
things,
moving on to
a few other things to point out about episode 1.
Sure.
I do think the way they do the intro for the tournament and talking about the rules it feels out of place personally. Like something like I feel like that could have been done better, could have been introduced better. And I think the way they introduce we'll get into it in a bit, but the way they introduce Juniper's fight, when they go in for their fight, their team fight and everything, and you kind of see how the arena shifts and changes and gives them different playing fields to fight on and everything. I think doing something like that for Team RWBY as well at the very beginning of the tournament and during those changes have Port and Oobleck talking about the rules of the tournament would have been a much better way to introduce things, personally.
Okay, fair enough.
And other than that, I would say I want to point out how throughout this volume, right, you'll see a lot more background animation going on as well. Like when you see, you brought up when they made the joke about all of the fish and Blake, really being distraught when the fish is taken away from her. You do see characters moving in the background of those shots. You see them not just either no characters there whatsoever and it's just a very blank background, or characters just statically standing there. You do see a bit of movement. And that is good because it is something you kind of want in animation, because it's very boring to just watch characters sit with a static background behind them and talk. It can be boring to see that. It can be less interesting, right? So it is nice to have those background animations going on, even if it's just something as simple as grass swaying, right?
Yeah.
Other than that, what did you think about the intro for this season?
It's good, but I think I prefer intros better. I like the other intros better.
That's interesting, because I would say this is the first time we get an intro that actually kind of gives you an idea of what you can expect story-wise from this particular volume. And they even do...
Again, it's not a bad intro, and I see where you're coming from, but, when I think about a good intro, and especially with something like this that you can, in this specific case, I pretty much binged it. So, a good intro to me, because I'll tell you, in the previous season, I didn't want to skip the intro, even though I could have, because I saw it once before. I don't need it in the beginning of every episode. But I didn't really skip the intro that much in Volume 2. This one, I felt fine skipping it. But, it's just me.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, I'm more looking at the animation of the intro and what they do with the intro and how they use the intro to entice you into the entire volume. And I think you're coming at it from very much a music perspective, right? And whether the music's catchy or not, right?
Kinda.
And that's
because fair. Because somebody said that a theme song to a show, a theme song to a show is great when you can listen to it on its own. And honestly, I can listen to this on its own. I just don't think I just don't like it as much. But again, that's personal preference.
And it's not. For me, like one of the things I like about it is the little bit of foreshadowing you get. Like you see all of the characters falling with that skydiving scene, and who do you see fall away first? Pyrrha. That's interesting. Wonder why.
Oh yeah.
And then you also see like all of the Grimm coming forward and charging at what looks like Beacon, and you see, you know, them show off some of the different forces that'll be in play, like the White Fang, the Atlesian military. You see our main cast running at the Grim with all of the Atlesian military as well. Like, you see those things happening, and it kind of gives you an idea.
Yeah, okay. Actually, there is a shadowing. I think we are in the spoilers there, so I guess I can probably talk about it. There's a point in Danger where we see Blake walking in front of a fire, fire building, and then she looks at it and she sees her old partner from the trailer of Volume 1. So again, that's again shadowing something that happens near the end of the season. So that's interesting.
And also, you're not just shown this barrage of characters who you have no clue where they are. They do show you some new characters, right? But you do get to see all of them, and you see all of them in action, and you learn a bit about each of these characters throughout the volume. You're not just barraged with all of the new characters that they've introduced in this volume as well. Like, they don't, because they're not major characters, they're not major players, they are just small side characters. Like, Volume 2, we're shown a ton of different characters kind of just standing there or walking towards the screen. That doesn't really tell us anything or show us anything. And most of those characters are either have very small parts or no part whatsoever, hardly. So it's, again, I think it's definitely, this goes back to that previous statement I made about how I think the show has definitely been a learning experience for those working on it, right? And how you can see them improve from volume to volume in some way, shape, or form on something. And I just, it's something I'd like to point out, and I'm going to continue to point out until we're done.
Go right ahead. It's this is your fault, so go right ahead.
I don't want to steal the show, but I will borrow the show.
Just wait until we'll do a podcast about something Sonic related. Oh boy, that's all I'll
be sick
say.
For that episode.
Sure, I to watch something you like, but get into something I like. No.
I can't let you have that much.
You see, this is what is. I just, man, one side wants to get interested in the stuff his friend likes. The other friend, no. Enjoying your gut fast bullshit, HC.
Moving right along. Episode 2, New Challengers.
Episode 2. This is like, in this episode I started thinking that every episode is just going to be a fight scene, which it's not that bad of an idea.
You're not that far off either, almost.
I'm not.
Always is.
Yeah, but near the they kind of near the end, even though the tournament is not the focus necessarily, and they do start talking about other stuff that not necessarily relate to the tournament. But overall, again, just another fun episode. I just enjoyed watching the fight. That's really all I have to say.
It's fun to see Team Juniper just all of a sudden start arguing with one another about their combination names in the middle of the fight. They just start arguing with one another and just having a team meeting. And the team that they're going against is very much like, this isn't the time, right?
Yeah.
And it's fun to see Jean just finally like, oh yeah, you're right. Nora, hit him with the hammer so we can be done with this. And they're like, wait, what? And then they're just into the fight. I love how a lot of the fights throughout this volume will end with a very comedic kind of anticlimactic way at times.
And also, I love how consider the fact that in this universe, these people are alive. Okay, these are living human beings, and for some reason, in this tournament, they get life bars. I found it so funny.
That's supposed to be their aura levels. So that way the audience can see.
I know, but I know that it's supposed to be their aura, but on monitors you can actually see the bars going down and stuff. So it literally just I just literally thought this is a fighting game. These people have a life bar. Let's hope they don't actually die when this thing depletes.
They don't. They don't actually let them get down to completely zero. There's a threshold level. But I like this episode because you get to see, Jean's improvement, right? As a leader and as a character, right? Like you see how far he's come along as a leader and as a fighter,
because I think like season 1, maybe 2, I'm not sure he would be as confident as he was in this episode. I think you can see how he slowly but surely is starting to build this confidence and be the leader to the team.
Yeah, I would agree. After that, we also get to see Team Indigo and Team Neptune, Team Sun fight. What did you think about that
one? Here's the thing: I don't. 2 days ago, so I don't necessarily remember everything about the episode. I just remember, just having fun with it.
Team Sun is the one where you get to see Neptune be afraid of water.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
That's the Team Sun and Team Indigo fight. And I want to point out, I love Team Indigo's designs, character-wise. Like, they all look really, really interesting and cool and fun to see.
Okay.
And it's also just a fun moment to see Neptune be afraid of water. But I specifically... Oh, go ahead.
I do want to say that once he sees like the desert on the other team's side, it's like, okay, I'm going to go there, and it's like, you're going to the enemy territory, and it's like, yeah.
It's like they'll never expect it, and you just see all of them standing around. It's like, well, yeah, he's right. We didn't expect it.
Yeah, that was funny. I like that.
Again, the show definitely has a lot of good humor here and there, I think, and it does. Yeah, it uses it well.
Actually, one funny part that I really got a chuckle out of is in the next episode. So we'll get to that soon.
Well, we can move right along because the only last thing I have to say is for the Team Indigo and Team Sun fight, I really enjoyed the music for that one. That kind of pirate-like theme mixed with I can't remember what I wanted to say about it. That's just how good I am. But it's a very you can hear kind of like this very piratey adventure-like theme mixed with kind of more heavier rock, and it's just really enjoyable to listen to, I think, for fight music for that scene, for that fight.
Agreed. Okay, so you said episode 3?
Episode 3, it's Brawl in the Family.
Oh, okay, so this is one of the stuff that got me to laugh, that we see a sister, Winter, coming to the call. I'll get to the call. We'll remember it. But anyway, she arrives, and then we have Crow, who arrives to school as well, and he starts fighting with her. And Ruby shows up, and she asks Maurice, what's happened, going on? And she's like, that guy came up and started fighting my sister. And Ruby's like, wait, that's my uncle. Go kick her butt. I like that. That was funny.
This episode definitely has a lot of good moments, and this is also an extremely enjoyable fight scene to watch too, with Crow and Winter fighting one another.
Yeah, because again, keep in mind that we almost see the kids fight, and then you have Winter and Crow, who are experienced, and Crow was actually a hunter himself, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you see people who have been doing this for years, seeing them fight each other and try to outsmart each other. Again, that's cool. That's because as much as I like seeing the characters grow, I also want to see a fight where people know what they're doing. they have some experience when they get to the fight.
Absolutely. And it's also really enjoyable to see how Winter at first comes off as very cold and harsh towards even Weiss as well.
Ha!
You're welcome. Wasn't the intention, but you're welcome, since you're going to point it out.
Well, I think I think the writers of the show pretty much knew what they were doing when they named him Winter. I mean, come on.
You have no idea. Just wait till later.
There's a reason called Ice Queen.
That's not even what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, Wolf. I know what you're talking about, but...
Do you? I wonder, because I have plenty of puns that I've seen that I can bring up for this volume in a bit. Also, welcome, Rush.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been here since the beginning of HC talking about the fight, and I just wanted to see if you noticed.
I did.
Okay, you did. I could minimize it so I could focus on the episode list. So, oops.
I have 2 screens, so it's a little easy for me to notice that I'm in. Anyway.
Since you're here, what did you think? Episode 3, It's Brawl in the Family.
Yeah, episode 3. I agree with HC. I came in early enough at least to hear him say the fight scene between them. I really enjoyed it. And then you just get to see... you just get to see how nonchalant Crow is by when he sees Ironwood coming, and so he just lets Winter come at him because he knows that Ironwood will stop it, and he just doesn't care.
And it's also really enjoyable to see Winter very much lose her cool during that fight. You see her it contrasts well with seeing her very earlier on in that same episode be very harsh and very cold and very strict and very much the military person in her come out at first, and then all of a sudden she has to deal with this drunken layabout, and all of that's gone now. I just want to kill you because oh my god, you frustrate me. It's fun to see. They do it really well. But if that's all, I guess moving on. Episode 4, Lessons Learned.
Let's see. I'm going over the description here to just...
The big fight in this one is Team Coffee versus, or specifically Coco Adele and Yatsuhashi of Team Coffee versus Mercury and Emerald for the tournament fight.
That's the one with the very big guy and then the lady that has the machine gun
purse. Yeah, the machine gun purse. The purse that can transform into a machine gun.
Gatling gun is actually
Gatling gun.
Better.
Yeah.
This is where we get a glimpse of Emerald's semblance.
What does it do?
God, I
wonder.
Hate it.
I'm sure that's going to be an interesting conversation coming up in a bit. But yeah, you get to see Mercury being the smug asshole that he is, but being able to once again back it up fairly well, because this is a team that gets, I think, a lot of praise in Volume 2, and a lot of the introduction is done so well. You feel like this team is, the Team Coffee is really strong, and it is really strong and really capable, and you see them beaten fairly fairly easily by these two villains, who at this point we really don't know a lot about, but I guess it does make sense to have them go up against Team Coffee and beat them so handedly, because it does lend more credence to, okay, these people are very strong, they're worth being taken seriously, they are a threat. So it's a nice thing to see, and it is a fairly well done fight. But, don't let me take up all the talking time. You guys can talk as well about the fight.
Well, you pretty much summed it all up, so...
Anything else you want to bring up?
Something? I do like how Crow talks to Ruby and Yang like an actual uncle. And you can see that on the one hand he loves them and he cares for them because they're his family, but at the same time, he also doesn't sugarcoat everything. He tells them, "Listen, once you get out of here, being Huntress is not going to be easy." Like, and in a sense, it's kind of foreshadows something that happens in the end of the season. But yeah,
it's also nice to kind of get to see that picture of Team Stark, because that's your first look at Raven. You get another look at Ty, and I guess the most specific thing that is you get to see Summer for the first time ever in the show.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to see all of them and Team Stark and their old team and all that. But I think the big thing here is just seeing Winter and Weiss interacting, and seeing that Winter actually isn't very cold and harsh towards Weiss all the time. She actually does and can be quite soft and enjoyable to be around, and they do have a enjoyable and fairly, and somewhat, at least anyways, loving relationship with one another. Like, you can see that they are still sisters, and it's nice to see.
Yeah, I did like that.
And one thing that I do like is, I know it's somewhat spoilery, but you will get the reason why in later seasons of just their dynamic. It's not like something that they drop. They continue the dynamic, and you get to see more and more why they act the way they do around each other.
Mm-hmm. All right. With that said, I guess we'll move on to episode 5, Never Miss a Beat.
Okay, first of all, seeing Penny in the tournament was pretty damn cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun, and also I think it's in that episode where, again, a funny moment that actually got a laugh out of me. That Penny has this I guess you can say protector. This girl that
it's her teammate.
Yeah.
It's just it's her teammate. You can say teammate. I'd say teammate.
Yeah. Okay, teammate. That she keeps her on schedule with stuff, and and then when Penny and Ruby chat it up, like she says, she's she's like Blake only if she didn't want to be around you, and Ruby says, "So Weiss, yes."
Mm-hmm. That was a good little dig against Weiss.
I like that. That was a funny line. Again, credit to the fun.
So, I guess I should ask, right? Do you realize, what did you think of Neon Cat and Cole Flint of Team Funky?
I'm glad. It's weird for me to say it because I'm usually dig characters with this power. But I'm so glad the Yang eventually beat the Neon Cat up because she was getting annoying.
You do know Neon Cat.
That's her character, though.
You do know who Neon Cat is based off of, right?
Who?
Neon Cat. Neon Cat is literally Neon Cat.
Okay.
That annoying meme.
Oh.
That's literally who she's supposed to be. So that's why she's annoying.
Okay. Well, mission accomplished. Because I like when Yang eventually beat her up. I'm like, oh yeah, that feels good.
Do you know who Flint Cole is based off of?
Flint Cole is literally a Rooster Teeth meme, essentially.
Really? I honestly thought he was based off Coltrane. Like
no, he might have some stuff based off of him, but Flint Cole is literally a character Rooster Teeth came up with during an episode of Achievement Hunter or something like that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, is the way it's supposed to have gone. So he's a character they created offhandedly, and he's literally just in RWBY now. That's him. I think it was when they were playing Minecraft, I think, hence the Flint Cole.
Yeah, I gotcha. That makes more sense.
So yeah, like that's why they're called Team Funky as well, because it's literally just the meme team.
The meme team.
Pretty much. One being an actual meme, the other being a very small Rooster Teeth meme, but still a meme nonetheless.
The meme team could be the name of like a high school comedy movie.
Oh God, you've already had Emoji Movie. We don't need the meme team.
Yeah, no.
Well,
What
I
are we
didn't say
gonna see?
I didn't say
There will
animated.
there will be an executive that watches this for
There's a
reason other than
movie
to
studio.
learn about the meme team.
Let's
I
not
will
give
blame
ourselves that much credit.
Yeah.
Somebody will send this. Somebody will pester an executive
Please don't.
with the idea for meme team.
Please don't. I beg of you, do not do that. Please don't.
You know, there's this guy finishing work on something, maybe.
But as a last little thing I'll say about this episode, getting back on topic, the music here, once again, I have to point out, is really good. I really enjoy this one as well. Between when you see Neon Cat and Flint Cole fight, Team Funky and Weiss and Yang fighting them as well. It's just a lot of fun music here because you get to hear the redone thing, a past music track we've heard in a past volume redone with the trumpet and everything playing as well, and it's all just really enjoyable and really fun to listen to. Like, I think this episode was definitely, they had a lot of fun with this one.
Yeah, and I think the episode to this actually leads to the next one. So
yep,
what
episode 6, Fall.
So I'll say I found this in that they found this thing in Pira or Fira. I'm not sure. It's pronounced Fira, right?
Pira, like pyramid.
Pira.
But
Okay.
Pira.
Okay. Wasn't sure, but I like how they find this, like they have this idea that she may be able to hold the Fall Maiden's aura, and again it's another bit of a world building, and because you hear about this sort of tradition, and you can also see how treating it, like, because you see Crow is very cynical about it and everything, but at the same time Osbin does believe in it, and you can see them bouncing off of each other as it's something that happened several times already, and they're just going through the process again, and they're not necessarily happy about it. And again, I like this idea because it shows you we get to know this world more, and what happens when what happens when certain people eventually do die, and how these traditions are being kept. I like that.
It's
and
just
it
less
also
a tradition and more an old fairy tale that is not an old fairy tale.
Well, you know what I mean.
But yeah, I get where you're coming from, right? It's in learning. Essentially, you do get to learn a bit more about the world and kind of what's going on, and that there is more happening here than what first meets the eye, right? Like that there is a greater evil at work here that might have something to do with the Grimm, and is much stronger than what Cinder is, right? Like you get your first hint that there's more to things than just Cinder, maybe, right? And that you get the idea that, okay, so there's also, Ozpin and Crow and Ironwood and Glinda and maybe a few others also make up their own inherent, secret cabal as well, protecting the world and all of that. And then you hear about the maidens and them being more powerful than anyone else and all of that. It's a lot of good and interesting world building that happens within this episode. I also really enjoy when the show does style changes like that too.
Yeah, when they do, they actually talk about the fact. Yes, I agree.
Rush, any thoughts?
No, I actually agree with you there, Wolf. How the style changes, kind of like how Race to the Edge did that one episode with the beginning, the Fall of the Leader episode, where they changed the style. It was nice to see that it's not just one track. I mean, we still do have where they, like at the very first season, where they had Ruby's like stream of consciousness, or not her stream of consciousness, but her thoughts as like a different style, but just in a storytelling perspective, it's always nice to see changes. And then we get kind of the fight? Or are we moving on to the fight now, or?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. Episode 7, beginning of the end.
No.
No.
The fight is still in the same episode between
Oh,
Yang
okay.
and Mercury.
Oh, yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and I think we did. Did this happen in the first 2 episodes that I missed? Yeah, they did. The first episode. Did you guys mention Blake and the fish?
Yes.
Yes.
HC made
Yes.
certain to mention Blake and the fish, and that was a definitely funny moment. We didn't say, though, we get to see good old Cabbage Salesman back once more.
Yeah.
Because he is very much this world's version of the Cabbage Salesman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Because he's everywhere. But actually, you're wrong. Yang and Mercury's fight does happen in episode 7, not episode 6.
What? No.
No, it happens in
Episode 6.
No, it's episode 7.
I can
promise you, episode 6 Fall does not have Yang and Mercury's fight. Yang and Mercury's fight is in episode 7, beginning of the end.
Are you sure? Because
I can tell.
No.
I can tell.
Sorry. I'm looking
Yeah,
at the wrong thing. That's my fault. Ignore me.
the Wikipedia list.
Yeah,
That didn't happen. Continue on, Rush.
So I thought the fight was very interesting. We got to see, so Yang used her semblance once again in a fight, and she just goes completely ham. And then we get the twist of the century. Somebody else.
You know something? I'm just say it. The ending to this felt. I didn't like it. Like I get what they were trying to do, like having it look like attacked him, even though it outside the fight and everything. But when you see this on the monitors, there is clearly a cut there. So, I don't know. It just didn't occur to me. Like, I don't know, something about the way this twist, and they didn't grab me in the right way. Like, it was like it happened because the story needed it to happen, and not because it actually makes sense.
You don't realize that? So this is, I guess we're gonna have to spoil it. Emerald's semblance is making people
see illusions. Her semblance is illusions.
Yeah, no. I get that. Then but then we get the idea that Yang saw the illusion that he attacks her, so she attacks back. Fine, I get that. But everyone's reaction to her being, "Oh no, she didn't do it. She wasn't supposed to do that," even though on the monitor clearly see there was a cut, so that means something's missing here. I don't know. That
cut on the monitor isn't so much that happened in like that world. That cut on that you see on the monitor was very much that was them reusing their own footage inside of the show itself, right? So I guess because you have experience with editing and a lot of different stuff, having going to college for editing for movies and stuff like that, you can tell a cut like that. I didn't even know there was a cut there, even in the monitor itself. So you noticed something I definitely never noticed, and probably something other people haven't noticed either. But that cut is because, if I'm not mistaken, more than likely they reused the footage from the show that itself within that monitor, just cutting out that bit of where you see Mercury, of where it looks like Mercury attacks Yang. So that's why you see that cut there more than likely.
Okay, so maybe I just missed it, but watching this the first time, I'm like, yeah, this. I don't know. Maybe it's the film. I just noticed this kind of things that I see a cut. I'm like, something's missing.
That's perfectly fair. I don't think like that's supposed to be like no one's hiding anything from the monitor from the monitor as well. Like, she literally only used her semblance on Yang. Everyone else just saw what it looked like Yang just randomly hitting Mercury again for no reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's and the entire point of that is to make it look to stir up negative feelings, right? That's why we immediately switch over to seeing the Grimm looking out towards Beacon and the Coliseum and the arena, right? Because Grimm are attracted to negative emotion.
Okay.
So that was the entire point of it, to attract.
Yeah, I get the point. It's just maybe there was another way to do it. That's what I'm saying.
That's fair.
At least to me.
Absolutely fair. Anything else to add? Rush, HZ.
We kind of went over it. It's setting up for obviously the next episode where we see the Grimm reacting to the whole stadium, basically saying what the fuck. So they're coming.
Yep. They are coming.
So I guess moving on then, episode 7, beginning of the end.
It was interesting. They left on a cliffhanger. It's not like it's a Netflix thing when all the episodes are coming out at the same day. This was like a week later, even more than a week later. I see, like there was almost a month between these two episodes.
There was.
Okay, and like you have this cliffhanger, and we don't really deal with it until the end. So that was interesting.
Actually, as someone who did watch this volume as it released episode by episode, because this is when I got into the show, there were two. We're not going to talk about them for this show. We might get into them at some later point, but there were two World of Remnants for this season that appeared, one right after the other, after this episode, if I'm not mistaken. So that was the point of those. So they filled in the gap temporarily. So it was just literally, let's leave you on that while we go and teach you more about the world. So they knew how to build suspense, I suppose, or piss people off. Take your pick. But back to the show and talking about this episode, it's nice to see our villains get a little bit more backstory and learn how they came together.
Yeah, I did enjoy it. I'll say this.
You learn about how Cinder's very much focused on wanting more power and gaining more power. She wants to be more powerful. You don't necessarily know why yet, but you do know she's just a very power-hungry person. And you see her recruit, Emerald, and this is where you fully learn what Emerald's semblance is, and that she can cast illusions and make people see illusions. And then we see Mercury, where he killed his father, apparently. And that his father was a master assassin. And then we learn that Mercury actually has, metal legs, so Yang actually didn't hurt Mercury at all. And then, during all of that, we see how they connected, how they connect to Adam, and how they, wanted to use him and the White Fang in order to achieve their goals, and how at first they weren't able to do that because they didn't have the power to convince Adam, but once they attack Amber and they're able to steal some of the Fall Maiden's powers, then they do, right? And you can also see the passage of time during that point, because when they come back the second time, you hear the White Fang Lieutenant and Adam talking about how they're going to get Blake back because she's ran off at that point. A lot of nice little touches that kind of draw back on things we've seen in past volumes or just in general, and it's nice to see them all kind of how all the different pieces fit together. That's pretty much what this episode is.
Okay. Fair enough. Next one.
Well, I mean, if there's anything you want to say, you can say it as well.
Again, you pretty much summed it all up. Like I said, I appreciate sort of the suspense building with the cliffhanger. That's really all I have to say.
Well, talking about Adam's VA for a second, do you think he works here? Because we've brought up his VA a little bit in the past, and I've talked about how a lot of people really dislike his VA, especially because he seems to have a very one-track set of emotion when it comes to how he gets things across with his VA work, and that it doesn't always work for every scene. Do you think it works for these scenes that he's in?
I think so, but again, I'm telling you, someone who's just getting into the show, people who watched it so many times probably notice this kind of stuff. I didn't mind his voice actor. It's not
I would agree
it's
with
not
you.
the best. It's not the best voice acting in the world. I'm not saying this is this is an example to follow, but I didn't have problems with it.
Yeah. Fair enough. Anything to add, Rush? Or are you good?
No, yeah. So on Adam's voice, it's for me who actually likes to pay attention to voice actors / secretly, not so secretly, wishes he was a voice actor. It's kind of like he's one of the few that I didn't immediately notice as, because if you a lot of the characters are voiced by Rooster Teeth personnel themselves, who I know, so I hear them, I'm like, oh, that's X, Y, and Z, and I know them already. And I mean, honestly, as it goes on, I can get past the voice. His just seems, for a person that his character is based on, his voice is so normal. Like you usually get, and I mean that's actually kind of how it probably would be in real life if there was an evil person. But like you get Cinder's voice, which is soothing yet eerie, right? You get Mercury, who, while his character is evil, he's also the haughty, arrogant, annoying type, and he sounds like that. And Emerald is the annoyed type, and you get that from his voice. And then, for even like Roman Torture, he's also, his voice also fits him because he's the flamboyant evil type who gets annoyed as well and yells a lot. But like I guess I'm just used to the villain's voice actors having a darker undertone. Maybe it's that he talks in a way that the way his accent goes, which is for all intents and purposes an American accent, his voice lilts up at the end, and that's something that, like I said, you really have to pay attention and notice. So it's not like it's like he's just using his regular voice. He's not trying, whoever's his voice actor was, he's not trying to do anything that sounds evil. He's just being himself. Which, like I said, that's probably how it would be in real life. You wouldn't change your voice to be a villain unless you're in a comedy show or something like that. But it just kind of doesn't fit in the villain sense. Maybe if he was another character, but it doesn't fit with the villain persona, I'd say.
No, that's fair. I completely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess with all that said, if no other thoughts on episode 7, I guess we'll move on to episode 8, Destiny.
Look back, I think, is this the episode where Pyrrha kind of tries and talk to Jean about what the adults offered her, and but she doesn't necessarily tell him what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I think I already said that I liked Jean and Pyrrha's chemistry, I guess, especially based on something that happens later on. But yeah, I like that conversation between them. And again, I can get friends and more from them. And that was a cute scene.
It was also a sad scene, really, too, when you think about it, because you have Pyrrha getting exactly what she's wanted from Jean the entire time, and she's the one who pushes him away mostly because he doesn't know what he's doing wrong, and because
destiny is a gift. Some go their entire lives living existence in quiet desperation. I'm doing the Troll Hunter speech. Never learning truth.
But she gets upset with Jean because he tells her to do something that, to her, she very much thinks, if I do this, I'll lose you. You're telling me to forgo you. You're telling me to forget you, to leave you behind. And that's why it really hurts her.
Yeah, but at the same time, that's what he's saying, and which
Well,
makes
absolutely.
it.
Like, he doesn't know, but she does, right? And that's because she knows exactly what it is she's talking about, and he doesn't. Is that his fault? No. But it does make it all that much more of a sadder scene because he thinks he's saying something that's going to help her and cheer her up, right? And ultimately, it doesn't. It just makes things worse. But also, it's not just John and Pyrrha who have a nice little moment as well as a sad moment. You also have Yang and Cinder. Yang and Blake. Oh boy. Shippers are going to love that one. Yang and Blake, who have a really sad little moment together as well. With all of them sitting there in their dorm room, and Yang trying to ask, like, you do believe me, don't you? And Blake sitting there saying...
And she's, so kind of, yeah, we believe you. Blake is the one that actually gives the cold out fact that, which again, we saw what we saw, and yeah, like she says she wants to believe, she does, but she can't necessarily do so.
She chooses to do so, but she does know what she saw, and what she saw wasn't what Yang is telling her. Isn't, as far as she is aware, isn't the truth.
Which is interesting because we'll probably play the I believe my friend no matter what I saw. So it is interesting to see this twist, I guess you could say.
And you also learn that Blake does have good reason to think so as well, because you learn a little bit about her past with Adam, and how she very much views how Adam fell as the same way she thinks Yang might be doing right this second, right, because of that little act. It's very much, she has reason to doubt Blake because she has reason to doubt Yang because she's seen it before with Adam.
Yes.
And a last little thing, we do learn a little bit more about Raven. Yang learns a little bit more about Raven, her mom from Crow. And that's interesting to see and hear about. Because Raven, I think I'll go out saying now that I do enjoy Raven's character.
I'll take your word for it. We'll have to wait and see.
We'll get there. But she's definitely an enjoyable character, in my opinion.
So good build-up.
Anything to add, Rush?
No, I think like you guys kind of put it all together there. It's nice that we finally, even though we at this point we still don't know what Emerald's semblance is, like explicitly, or she might have mentioned it when like they were back in when like it was Cinder, Emerald, and Mercury together, and she was talking about how she couldn't, and we also kind of got it in the flashback as well.
I mean, you see, for us as an audience, right, we see fairly clearly that it looks like she can make people see illusions when they attack Amber and everything. So for us as an audience, we have a pretty good idea of what her semblance is at this point, but our characters don't.
I guess what I probably should have been thinking about is how we finally get the idea that the good guys, will figure it out. So, yeah.
All right. Moving on. Episode 9. PvP.
So, again, continuing from the last, Mercury is actually fine. And while that's going on, Pyrrha and Penny have their match, which ends pretty bad for Penny.
Pretty well for Pyrrha, because she goes from having just a penny to 4 quarters.
Okay, no, just no.
See,
no.
You think that's my joke. No, that's not my joke. That's the fandom's joke, because, dear God, when this first happened, this fandom loves its puns, and they did plenty of them. With not just Penny.
Guys, I want you to promise me that no matter how many puns I make, either on the Outcast or the Berkcast, nothing will be as bad as, because this is just terrible for a lot of reasons.
It gets worse.
It gets worse.
Yeah. There's plenty of others. As I said, there are plenty of others.
There are worse puns than this.
Oh, sure.
Okay, I take it back. You two don't decide more after hearing this. Ugh,
well, after hearing absolutely nothing because your mic cut out, I can't feel attacked or anything.
Wolf, did I
it
just
did.
bluff it? Oh, for the love of... Anyway, you two don't have the right to criticize me for puns after hearing this.
I mean, yeah, we still do. We still will.
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's us, though, HC. Like, that's just how it rolls. You can't say, oh, one of us makes a bad pun, so now you're vindicated of every bad pun you've ever made.
He just said that pun belonged to the fandom and that there are a lot more like it. And I think this pun alone is worse than anything I've done, because at least I'm self-aware. I think
they are
the people,
as well.
I want to hope so.
They most certainly are. And it's all, yeah, let's be honest, right? It is all Barbara's fault.
Oh, yeah. Always.
Because Yang puns, Barbara puns, the fandom has to pun too, and they punned with more than one
hashtag
character.
period.
TB too. They use it all.
Hashtag Pira did not.
Yeah, like, as I said, she made more change. Nothing wrong with having more change.
Okay, anyway, so like I said, Penny's dead.
And the show handles this really well, I think.
Yeah.
But was she ever alive? Was she a real girl?
You tell us, Pinocchio.
When you wish upon a star, you will probably get ripped apart.
Things are going being eaten by a green. I know, that was terrible. but after the last thing I heard, I don't feel bad about it. Anyway, yeah, but the negative emotion continue. The starting to attack Beacon, and
I mean, this is very much like you hear Cinder's entire speech here of how they want to topple down the existing, leadership structure of the schools, of whatever government there is, because we don't really know a lot about it at this point, as well as you see the White Fang dropping in at this point too. Not at this episode, but next episode immediately after this, basically you see the White Fang dropping in as well. Like, this is very much the start of their attack. This is everything up to this point, has been in preparation for the plan, in preparation for this moment. This is the big tonal shift. We just had, even if she was a robot, we did just have a character die on screen, essentially.
Yes.
Whether she can be brought back or not is a completely different point and a completely different topic of discussion. But, we did just see this character more or less die. So, a big turning point for the show and a big turning point for our heroes and our villains. Which I think leads really well into episode 10 if we want to move right along.
Yep, episode 10. I think I personally, episode 10 and 11 kind of mesh together for me.
Oh, yeah,
so if I jump between one and the other, I apologize in advance.
I would say the next 3 episodes really mesh together a lot, to be honest.
Since they're all... the last one is pretty, the last one is pretty much an epilogue, all things considered. So
a part of it is like the very ending of like the big battle. But the Battle of Beacon, episode 10. We start off with seeing like this kind of, okay, our heroes are all coming together. They're, you see this moment of hope against, you have this major tragedy of Penny's death, and then you see our heroes coming together and having a moment. It's a nice little thing to see, all of them save Pyrrha and Ruby and from the Nevermore with all of the, lockers coming down, and then all of them doing helping out to fight the Nevermore and beat it fairly quickly. It's a nice little moment to see, and
Yes.
the rousing of the troops a little bit right there.
And I think every to shine.
Yeah, I would say so. Like, you see a lot of different characters right in this moment get to shine, but also you get to see a character who we've never seen fight up until this point, out of nowhere, be a badass. Ironwood, General Ironwood.
Oh man, I love
Grim stood no
well,
chance.
He's a general.
I like
fight, but
here's where I also think it's funny how most of them have like weapons that are secondary, like with a gun inside of them. I don't know what that's all about in the whole universe, but his is just a gun in his fist, and he also bitch slaps him with his gun as well. The fucking Deagle, man.
Yeah, he just the one Deagle, the one Deeg.
The one Deeg.
The one Deeg.
Yes.
But yeah, it's definitely it's really fun to see. I also really love the moment of like all of the students arrive and they're like, and they talk to General Iron. They're like, "What should we do? Like, what are you going to do? What do you want us to do? What's the situation?" And he's like, "Grim are invading. We're under attack. Do something about it." Bang! Grim comes up behind you. I'm going to kill it real quick. But if any of you want to leave, no one's going to judge you for it after I said all of that and did all of that. I'll judge you, obviously, but no one else will judge you. Don't feel bad. It's like, you're a bit of a jerk.
Perfect if he's like, he just stares at a Grim and it just runs away. Nobody would be, nobody would feel bad.
Okay, you're a badass, but also a bit of a jerk because I know what you just did. You did it because you wanted to make them feel like if they did walk away at this point, you're gonna judge them hard. And I get it. You have every right to after doing all of what you just did, but still, you're gonna judge them hard, saying no one's gonna judge them or find them at fault. Sure. But that's just to me that stands out as an interesting and just fun moment.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
But yeah, it's just really great. And it also, it does give you, okay, it's all about, this episode definitely feels like the rousing of the troops in general, right? Like, the heroes are coming together, everyone's kind of doing their thing and fighting back what's all happening. Like, it feels like they have a chance to win this. And I do think you need that, especially after just seeing one of our characters, and maybe not a major character, but definitely a character that was enjoyable to see. You do see them, seeing their death. I think you need an episode like this, and it's fun to see it.
And then kind of kicks it up to 11 by... you know what? I will say that before we get to all the stuff that happened in episode 11, I do like Ruby's fight on the airships and how she's jumping from one to another and how she's holding herself in the battlefield. I enjoy that a lot.
Until we see a new type of Grim.
Yes.
How to Train Your Grim.
Actually, I think someone has written a fan fiction for this, and
I was just about to
that.
I was just about to ask if this is fan fiction.
There is one. I've seen it here and there, I think. I don't know how popular it is, but I've definitely seen the name before. So yeah. But a dragon that can spawn more Grim. An interesting little development. However, I think what's even more interesting, would you like to hear this dragon's name?
Sure, go ahead.
It's a name that is befitting such a creature, as you should, as all names do. And I think it's a name that the fandom came up with. And his glorious name is Kevin.
If I may tangent to a different show just for a second, because in the 2012 version of the Ninja Turtles, they kind of have this running joke that Michelangelo is the turtle that names all the mutants and all the things that they come across. And there's this one mutant that he just can't get a name for, and just says, you know what? Let's just call him Justin. And they literally call him Justin, even the most regular, non-threatening name ever. This is what it reminds me of. Like Kevin, really.
Mm-hmm. But yep, I mean, to be fair, right? This is a fandom where you have ship names like Ladybug, Bumblebee, White Rose, Baked Alaska, Milk and
Baked Alaska. What ship is that?
Okay, Neapolitan.
Wait.
What?
Oh,
go
okay,
ahead.
thank
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go. I was gonna say Baked Alaska. Or I was gonna say it was. Oh crap! I already lost it. No, I lost the character.
Neo.
Well, you said Neo. Well, you already because you said Neo. I knew I was wrong immediately. It was gonna be Weiss and somebody. I think Weiss and Torchwick.
Oh no, it's not. I guess that could work a little bit, but no, it's Baked Alaska is a alcoholic drink served with ice cream that is on fire. Neo's full name is Neapolitan, like the ice cream, and you can guess where the fire comes from. No, actually, it comes from Yang. It's Yang and Neo.
I wanted to say Yang. Well.
And the only reason that chip exists is because of that one fight they had back in Volume 2. Well, there's also Milk and Cereal, which is a ship name, and I really like that ship. And that's good and creative.
Okay, let's keep the ships for another time because we still have.
Oh god, that list is long, HC.
Okay, so let's for another time because we have some stuff to talk about in
but
this
yeah,
one.
Back on topic. I guess that about covers episode 10.
Yeah, we pretty much jumped to 11.
Well, no, that's all of that still happens in 10.
Oh, okay.
Most of it.
Again, like I said,
it definitely blends together a little bit. But if you want to, episode 11, Heroes and Monsters.
So, bye, Pyrrha.
You're jumping a bit ahead. Let's work our way to Pyrrha's death.
Well,
it does. You're right episode.
Yeah. Well, it's in 12. Sorry. But goodbye, arm. That's seeing that one coming.
Looks like Yang could have used an extra hand there.
Yeah, she was not all right after that.
Another good one.
No. Not only is it painful to laugh about, it's also just not a good pun. People, come on.
No, that's actually a good pun because she only has her right arm now, HC. She lost her left.
So it's not a great pun, it's also incorrect by every means of but whatever.
No, it is. Moving on. Again, as I said, when this happened, there were plenty of Yang lost an arm jokes. Trust me.
What is the problem with?
It's Rooster Teeth. Their fans don't take anything seriously because they kind of don't either, and they would make these jokes too. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, some of these, I think Barbara herself has retweeted and talked about some of those exact same jokes.
For the love of...
She encourages it.
It's like if Kevin Feige suddenly said on his Twitter, I'm really sick today. I guess you could say I don't feel so good. Like, really?
You probably would. I was gonna say that you should have put that with the brothers, one of them. But I guess Kevin Feige is all right.
That's the first thing that came to me.
But
getting back to... I can expect that for you, but not the people behind the product. But okay, whatever. Sure, whatever.
Why not?
If that's what gives people their kick, I don't judge.
I think the big moment here, well, I wouldn't say the big moment is Yang losing her arm and losing to Adam and all of that. But some of the smaller moments, it's really cool to finally see Velvet's semblance in action, right? You've seen her throughout.
Everybody is like tired too.
Mm-hmm. And she just comes in, and you get to see her fight you get to see her fight with all the different weapons of our main cast plus a few extras. and you really get to see her in action. It's just really cool to see. The music for it is really nice. It's just, some of the previous themes redone up a little bit, and it really works really well, and it's just fun to see. So it's a nice moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go into Weiss trying to save Velvet, and we see Weiss finally able to summon a portion of something that is actually fairly familiar and that you've seen before. That's actually, if you don't know what it is, it's a callback to, do you remember the White trailer? Way back in Volume 1?
Hazily, but yeah.
Do you remember when she fought that suit of armor?
Yes.
That's that suit of armor's sword that she summoned.
Oh, okay.
So we're calling way back to that.
That's cool.
And I think this is one of the fun things about Volume 3 is because you have all of these you have all these callbacks to previous things that happened, right? It doesn't feel like anything is left untouched. You even see Cardin mixed up in this too, and him fighting with Crow and Glinda, right? And out there, and he gets saved by Ironwood, but you do, see Cardin as well, right? It's nice to see all these different things. The big thing.
To go, unfortunately, I did say we need to keep it short.
Yep, sorry about that.
No, it's all right. We almost got through, but yeah, okay. Quick thoughts on rest of the season for me.
Yeah,
really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, Hera didn't feel so good, so she had to sit out too.
At least they can build a pyramid in Pyrrha's honor.
She can't be late to rest though. And then the silver eyes, nice. They finally have a point to why she has different colored eyes. And then the ending, so sad.
Also, our first introduction to Salem, and going right back around to that ending narration too, or that beginning narration all the way in Volume 1. Like that had a point. Like that was actually a conversation between Ozpin and this new character who is our major and main villain, Salem.
Okay, that's interesting to know.
But something I would point out back in episode 11 that I really personally enjoyed is the ending to, like, because we didn't really make note of it real quick, is this is Roman's death as well.
Yeah, true.
And I do enjoy the speech that he gives to Ruby, and like you kind of do learn a little bit about Roman's past and what he might have gone through or has been through a little bit from that little speech that he gives, and definitely makes you want to see more of him, I'd say. So it is kind of a shame to see him go.
Yeah, but maybe a good thing that you kind of want to see more of him in a sense.
Oh, sure, absolutely, right. Like there's plenty of people who've asked if they would ever bring him back, and like they've actually come out and said, right, like that they used Roman way more than they thought they were going to originally. Like originally Roman had a much smaller part to play, and they themselves enjoyed the character so much that they wanted to do more with him and they wanted to involve him more. And I think that's really cool.
That happens.
Yeah. And I would love to see them, maybe do, because of like the speech that we get from Roman and how he talks and kind of I would love to, it very much sounds like they have him very fleshed out, and that they do kind of have an idea of what his backstory and past might be or could have been. And I would love to see them do something with that maybe, but that's just a want from a person who is definitely a fan of this character and likes him a lot. But moving right along, our final episode, episode 12, End of the Beginning. Rush already did mention it, but we should mention it here too. First off, Cinder and Ozpin's fight. Ozpin is dead.
Yep.
Or is he?
Dead. If you say where is,
no, I said, or is he, not where.
Well, still the point still stands. So if you're saying, "Oh, is he?" that probably means he's alive somewhere, and
not quite.
We'll find out.
Not quite the way you would expect. I will say he is not entirely dead.
Okay, so he does come back in future volumes. That's okay. Gotcha.
But the big one is, you get to see Jean and Pyrrha finally kiss, which is a nice moment for them. And then Cinder and Pyrrha's fight.
Yeah.
Which leads into... Go ahead.
Yeah, it leads to Pyrrha being killed, and then RWBY unleashes this light. Is that an aura? Is that a...
That is, as Crow tells her, that has something to do with her eyes. And at this point, like, we still know very little about it. Even in volumes 4 and 5, they've not really went into it all that much, other than to say it has something to do with her eyes.
And also kind of a Harry Potter thing, like her mother. So, but that's interesting. And I did a conversation we had with with Yang one back home. Like, you can see both of them are heartbroken, but they're still sisters. They're still there for each other. That was sweet.
I mean, even then, though, you can see that, like, Yang's she's lost a bit of that love and care, because you can see that she's very much, she's defeated, and she's even depressed as well. Like, you can see that everything that happened and losing her arm, like, it's...
Like, again, you can see all the different emotions present in that scene. And that's...
Absolutely, and that's definitely a good thing. And it's also great because, you have this character of Yang who, up until this point, she quite literally thought she was untouchable and unbeatable, right? Because every time she would get to a certain point, she would just get stronger, and you could never take her down. And then here comes Adam. She's at full strength, basically, full charge in, and she gets cut straight through. No protection whatsoever. She loses her arm. Like, you can see how much that affects her in this one scene. And you can see, like, that completely, in a way, it definitely shatters her worldview of herself and of how she thought she was, and of what she thought she was capable of, compared to this guy, right?
Yes.
So,
and
really great scene
the other thing interesting is that, like, pretty much RWBY lost her team in a sense. Like, Yang is at home with no hand. Blake's not around. Weiss is not around. And when she's going to look for a Cinder Haven, she's doing it with Jean, Nora, and Dren. So again, it's an interesting note to leave the season on. And hey, you know what? Good on them for having balls to do this. I full credit.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, it's definitely interesting to see our four main girls completely split up and separate from one another. And some of them, like, like you said, you have Yang staying at home because she just doesn't want to fight anymore, because she doesn't think she can anymore. You have Blake, who, afraid of Adam at this point, just chose to ran and not even stay anymore. And then you have, Weiss, who had no choice in the matter and was once again taken by her father and has to deal with her father now and all of that. And then, to end it off, like I said, we have our first look at Salem. So,
I did, narration. See if it's a character that comes into play later. And now I know it is.
At the time, right, like, there was this big, like, thing of what is her name and who is she and all of that, and, like, the only way to find out her name was to look in the credits to see who she's listed as, and that's when you found out that she was Salem. Otherwise, I think at the time of watching it when it first came out, like, there was this big thing of who is she, what is her name, stuff like that. It was really fun at the time and interesting at the time, but definitely will be interesting to see what she does going forward and who she is going forward.
Yes. Well, I guess that's all.
One last small animation thing I'll say about episode 12. I like how they do their transition for time, right? When you see, like, the leaves falling when it changes to winter. I think that's a nice little thing. And we'll kind of get into a little bit more of what I think of pacing and time, and how the show shows the passage of time with Volume 4 as well. I think that's where I'll really talk about that. because I do think, in terms of the show overall, I think it does have some pacing issues. Not just volume 4 or 5, but volumes 1, 2, and 3 as well.
Okay. I'll try and keep that in form.
But with all of that said, I guess that is the end of RWBY Volume 3. I take it you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's definitely an enjoyable volume. It's definitely, as you said, it's very action-packed. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of moments to breathe in this volume. There's no real slow moments except for maybe at the beginning, and that's it. After that point, it's just from one action piece to the next action piece, fairly quickly even.
Yes.
Whether that be good or bad is definitely up for some debate, I'm sure, and you'll probably hear different people weigh in on it differently. But
it's one of those things. It is opinion more than anything.
Absolutely. Well.
Okay. So.
Well, with that said, this has been The Outcast. I've been your host, Wolf.
I was HC, and with us, friend Rush, who had to leave due to his things that he needs to do.
Mm-hmm. Because we're a professional podcast, and we let people leave right during the middle of it and come in during the middle of it.
It happens sometimes. What can?
Hopefully you still enjoyed the show. If you want to get in touch with the Berkcast, you can do so by following us on Twitter, Berkcast, capital B, capital C. If you want to get in touch with us and ask us questions, you can do that by following our Tumblr, Berkcast Team, on tumblr.com. And also, if you want to just comment in the comments below this video and tell us what you think of our opinions on the show for RWBY Volume 3, go ahead. Let us know. And with all of that said, we'll see you for Volume 4 next time. Take care.
See ya.
And bye-bye.